Welcome back, fellow movers, and if you didn't get it from that extravagant intro, we are going to see if the artificial intelligence Chat GPT can learn us how to handstand. Teach me to handstand. Alright, so as you can see, to learn a handstand, you will need to build up your upper body strength and learn the proper technique. And here's how you get started. Start by building up your upper body strength through exercises such as push-ups, dips, shoulder presses. Well, I guess that's true. You need some sort of upper body strength in order to get started with your handstand journey. And push-ups is a great way to go, I guess. Shoulder presses, well, it's not really something you need. There are definitely more specific ways of achieving this. Starting by doing planks, then eventually wall walks is, for example, a good way to go. Or just basically practicing the steps of doing a handstand will also provide you with the necessary strength in the long run. Secondly, it is suggesting us to practice kicking up against the wall to get a feel for the movement and to build confidence, and make sure your body is in a straight line and your core is engaged. Sounds very much like something you'd hear searching on Google and finding some random blog article, I guess. For some people, sure, the way you start is by kicking up to a wall and practicing it from there. For most people, however, getting comfortable upside down is about much more. You need to get comfortable upside down by learning to headstand, for example, which I have an entire YouTube video about that you can check out. So it's suggesting that after we get comfortable kicking up, that we start practicing handstands away from the wall, starting against the wall and then eventually in the middle of the room. Which is kind of funny, but I guess it's right, sort of, but it doesn't suggest like how you would go about doing this, which I guess is a big weakness. But yeah, there are hundreds of drills that you can use in order to build your ways from not being able to do wall-assisted handstands even to doing wall-assisted handstands, and then hundreds of drills to take you from the wall-assisted handstand to your freestanding handstand in the middle of the room. To me, the most important ones will obviously be the ones where you're focusing on using your hands to actually balance. Using assistance from the wall just to make it a bit easier, then starting to gain those few seconds of balance step by step and gradually increasing your time under balance. But that's not something that the AI here is suggesting at all. It is just telling us to progress into doing it in the middle of the room. But again, I'll try to dig a bit deeper in some questions that I will ask the AI later. It's also telling us that when you're ready to begin training the handstands, you want to focus on the following key points, which I guess is the form cues that we generally hear. You want your body in a straight line, sure. But to most people, that's not possible in the beginning. It takes time to develop your line, it takes time to develop the required mobility and awareness to hold a straight line handstand. So for most people, the first handstands is not going to be straight at all. It's going to be bent in a variety of ways. And it's telling us to engage our core, which is actually something you commonly hear out there. It's also something that I strongly disagree with. It's you shouldn't focus on engaging your core. That will just keep you from focusing on the right things, actually. I mean, it is a form cue used to emphasize this neutral spine position that you will eventually want. But tightening your core or engaging your core is not really necessary. What is necessary is learning to control your hip and spine positioning, which does require a lot of not core strength, but awareness. It also wants us to keep our head neutral. So neutral like this, which is also something you commonly hear. You really want to be looking down in your handstand. This is actually one of the handstand myths in my handstand myth video, which you can also check out. But yeah, you don't want to have a handstand like this. You want to look down. You don't want to overdo this by looking far in front of your hands, but straight down between your thumbs, more or less, or between your index fingers. Depends a little bit what you feel most comfortable with, but you shouldn't be straining your neck in any way, but you should not have a neutral head positioning either. Keeping your fingers spread apart. Well, I guess that's true. I do that. I also recommend that. It will give you a larger surface to balance on. It will make it easier to sort of grip the ground, which is a good thing. Other than this, it's telling us to practice, practice, practice. And it takes time and dedication to master the handstand. And that is perhaps the best tip out of these 6 steps that the AI has given us. This is also something that a lot of people forget. No one learns the handstand overnight. It's a process that takes a lot of time. So embrace the process and just enjoy the ride. These steps put forth by the AI here, I would say is very shallow. It's definitely something you could find in fitness magazine or whatever that just wants some easy content. So I guess this chat AI is super convenient if you just want to use this knowledge or whatever to just slap on some easy content for your blog or whatever, but it doesn't really add any value, and it's not really usable for anyone who wants to actually learn the handstand. But it could be that we just need to dig a little bit deeper. So let's give it another chance, shall we? And let's ask, can you teach me the best handstand drills to get to learn the handstand? And here are some drills that can help you improve your handstand technique. All right, let's look at these drills. Wall walk-ups. Okay, not bad. We were already discussing these, which is a great way of gaining the strength and to do a handstand, as well as just getting comfortable being upside down, especially in the beginning. And it's also suggesting how you should place your hands, etc. It doesn't really matter that much, I think. And shoulder taps. Well, I don't really like them. I guess they can be all right to build some endurance and strength eventually. It does require quite a lot of strength though, because you basically need to support your whole body weight on one arm. So I would not say that this is a particularly useful drill for learning the handstand. Kick-ups, sure, kick-ups is important, but there are again probably 100, or not 100, but tens of drills that can teach you how to kick up. It's not like just doing a kick up is as easy as that. The drill can have a lot of varieties to make it easier or to make it more difficult. But yeah, the kick up is a good drill, and it should be used as a drill as well, and not the main sort of part of your handstand training. And handstand holds, so I like this, that it's actually differentiating between handstand kick-ups and handstand holds. That's actually very important. So it's suggesting to hold the handstand against the wall, focusing on form, but yeah, it doesn't really focus on how to make this relevant for handstand balance. I mean, you can do as many wall-assisted handstand holds as you want without learning how to do a handstand balance, because you need to actually focus on the important things, which in the case of learning to balance your handstand is balancing, focusing on using your hands, which is the first contact to the ground, and which is what will keep your balance. And it's suggesting handstand push-ups. I know advanced hand balancers doing one-arm handstands and whatnot who can't do a handstand push-up, so definitely not a necessity. Although having excess strength is always good. At least I think that. So yeah, doing handstand push-ups can also be an awesome goal to have during your handstand journey. It's because you need a handstand in order to do a handstand push-up. Sure, I'll take that. Not a lot of drills and not very level adjusted, I guess. But yeah, sure, not too bad. Now let's dig even deeper. Let's see if we can give us some more details about what kind of form cues are actually important in a handstand. So let's ask, what handstand form cues are important? Question mark. Dang. All right. Here are some key form cues to keep in mind when practicing handstands. 1. Keep your body in a straight line. Okay. How? 2. Keep your core engaged. All right. 3. Keep your head neutral. Okay, we already discussed all of these 3 first ones. It already told us in the beginning. And it also tells us to look towards our hands. So we should have a neutral head positioning and look towards our hands, which is super difficult. So I guess the AI here is, this is actually quite funny. It's struggling to differentiate between these 2 things that are impossible to do at the same time, but you have schools of teaching both things, because you have a lot of people and a lot of articles, a lot of data out there suggesting that you should have a neutral head positioning, and you have a lot of data out there suggesting that you should look down between your hands. So yeah, interesting. Keep your fingers spread apart again. Yeah, sure. Keep your shoulders engaged. Shoulders should be back and down. Okay, this one doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Shoulders engaged, sure, you can't do a handstand without engaging your shoulders, but back and down, so I guess retracted and depressed, which is more or less opposite of what you should actually do, which is elevating. So it says away from your ears, which should be to your ears. So it's actually giving the opposite form cue here from what you're supposed to. I'm really not sure where this data comes from, because it must come from somewhere. Next one, keep your legs together. Well, that's also totally wrong. For a straight handstand, which is one shape, sure. But for beginners, doing a wall-assisted handstand, sure, legs together is good, but you can also do these scissor legs, which can also be hugely beneficial in the beginning, especially when practicing kick-ups or when going from a wall-assisted handstand into a free handstand. I would say this is not a form cue at all. Keep your feet pointed. Of course, this is a form cue that we hear a lot. And in gymnastics, that's important because you actually get deduced points in competition if you don't. In any other situation, then it's not really important at all. It looks prettier, sure. And at some point, I recommend you to do it, but it's not a necessity. It's not something you should be focusing on, especially in the beginning of your handstand. Interesting observation about these answers that the AI is giving us is we know that the AI is just basically collecting data from forums, from blogs, from websites, from whatever. So it can actually tell us quite a bit about the general consensus of handstand teaching out on the World Wide Web. And I actually think it looks very familiar to things you see out there, to, you know, superficial YouTube tutorials, to, I'm not saying that all tutorials are superficial, but a lot of them. And also blog articles written, you know, not necessarily by handstand coaches, but more of a clickbaity approach to skills like the handstand, which you see a lot out there. And I guess the answers of the AI is shaped by this huge amount of less than optimal quality content out there. To be completely honest, I'm quite amazed by the capabilities of this artificial intelligence. It's actually able to pretend like it knows quite a bit about the handstand. but it obviously has its limitations. I think one of the main drawbacks of the answers that we're given to by this AI, which is actually the exact same information I see missing in a lot of blog articles, tutorials, and teachings out there on the internet, is individualization. Because there are so many different levels that people could be at when practicing the handstands, and the form cues that you give them and the drills that you give them depend very much on their level. And I think this is perhaps the most important thing to keep in mind when training for the handstand, that you challenge yourself just enough. And to do that, you need very level specific tips, which this will obviously not be able to give you. The general things, sure, and some people are able to train and deduce from general aspects more specific things to their own training, while other people need more specific cues. So instead of trying to learn to handstand from the AI, I would suggest you check out my YouTube tutorials, which are for all kinds of levels. I have probably 10 different handstand tutorials by now, suitable for all sort of handstand levels out there. I will link the playlist right here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.